Now, with regards to energy efficiency, it's important to recognize that the label that we want to look for is what we call this NFRC label. Now, that stands for the National Fenestration Rating Council, and it's an independent organization that rates the energy performance of windows. It doesn't say whether they're good or bad, they simply rate its performance. Now, this NFRC label tells us some really important information about the energy performance of the window, and this is important to understand because many energy codes require that windows have a certain level of performance. Now, here we're looking at three basic factors. First, let's talk about the U factor. U factor simply means how well that window conducts energy in or out of it, and it's the reciprocal of the R value. What that basically means, it's kind of the opposite of R value. So, for example, this window here is a 0.33. That means it conducts 0.33 BTUs per square foot of glass per degree Fahrenheit difference between indoors and outdoors. This is kind of a winter measurement. Basically, it tells us how well that window is going to perform in the winter months and for conductive losses in the summer as well. The next number is a little bit more confusing. We call it the solar heat gain coefficient. And that number simply is the percentage of heat from the sun that gets through the glass. And so, for example, this window allows 33% of the sun's energy to get into the glass, or it reflects 67% of the sun's energy. Now, the amount of energy from the sun that strikes 1 square foot of surface is about 250 BTUs per square foot. So that's a lot of heat energy. So this window does a great job of reflecting that summer heat, and that really reduces your air conditioning loads. Also, some other information is on here. There'll be a description. For example, this says it's a casement window. It's a vinyl-clad wood frame, which basically means it's got a vinyl coating over the wood window. This says it's dual pane and has low E glazing with argon, and the product type is casement. When they talk about low emissivity coatings, basically what that means is that this is a silver coating that's microscopically thin and is placed on the inside surface of the glass between the two panes. Now, what this coating does is it reflects the heat in the infrared range. About half the energy from the sun we can't see. Basically, it's the heat that comes from the infrared spectrum. The other half is the heat from daylight. So if we can block a lot of that infrared heat, the window is still fairly clear to look through, but it blocks a lot of the heat and makes us a lot more comfortable and makes our home a lot more energy efficient. So when they refer to low E coatings, that's basically a coating that doesn't emit energy very well, and it has a high reflectivity to heat. Another important number on the NFRC label is the visible transmittance number. That's basically how clear the glass is. So a window that has a lower visible transmittance would have less light get through it. It'd be harder to see out, like a dark tinted window. As we become closer to being clear, the visible transmittance goes up. Now, you also can note here that this window has argon in it. What the heck does that mean? Well, oftentimes between the two panes of glass, they'll fill that space with an inert gas like argon or krypton. And what they mean by inert, it means that it's not reactive. It's not going to cause anything to corrode or anything of that nature. But what the argon gas does, it's a little bit denser than air. And so what that means is that it adds a little bit better R value because you don't get as much convective currents transferring heat in between the two panes of glass. So it's a way a window manufacturer can get a little bit higher performance out of the window or a little bit lower U factor.